I played top lane for Dignitas. I feel good to be back in LCS representing Dignitas. Now we have one goal in mind, that's winning.
Boom! Headshot!
I want to prove that I still have it. I want to play against Corki. He has established himself as one of the best supports. I need to establish myself like him. He's an inspiration. He helped me decide to come back. I thank 100 Thieves for giving me an opportunity after I decided to play. Because of them, I'm back in LCS. This year, Dignitas haven't lost to... I'm going to keep it that way.
Wait, Gamsu. What about CLG?
I used to be a Dhokla from academy days. I'm not too worried about CLG.
Welcome back to the LCS and State Farm Analyst Desk, and thank you to Dignitas for that absolutely beautiful piece of content.
I like the Spy Family reference too.
Let
thought
it be known that every org has come in with a distinct style in their editing and content choices here at the start of this split. We're going to get into this Dignitas CLG matchup that Gamsu is apparently not worried about at all in just a moment. Before we do, we got some bingo bango business to take care of.
Your
boy Mark over here with his stats aided bingo card.
So if you're playing along at home,
yeah,
I did win. It was this line right here I got across from it. Karma, Senna, Victor, Ari, Callista. I also got, did you just throw something?
He threw a cushion.
I also
he
got
threw
these
your
ones, and these two.
Why are you showing us what wasn't bingo?
I'm just saying how many I got. It was very impressive. You did a great job.
Mark's so cool, right? Yeah. Mark's just like making the case for his blackout bingo card, you know, versus
threw my
the
whole
actual
chair at
bingo
me.
card. Now you get to sit in that. Well, congratulations.
I'm playing a break.
Congratulations to you for abusing statistical analysis.
I could have been even more tryhard. I could have put like literally the top 5 in a row. At least I shuffled it a little bit.
Well, thanks for doing that, Mark. Thanks for making things interesting.
Wow.
Congratulations to you on the bingo 7 minutes ago till we dive into the matchup.
so
You look so casual now. You look so chilled out. All right, so Mark, talk to me then. Actually, no, I'm moving on from you.
Let's go into the teams.
Let's go into the teams. Let's go into Gamsu, the person we started talking about, making his return to League of Legends. Started over there in the LEC, EU LCS at the time, has appeared on this Dignitas team in the past, Emily, but after a step away from the game, he's back.
Yeah, so I had the chance to talk to Gamsu, previously when he was in LCS, but then also during his Overwatch career and then coming back. And one thing that's always been really interesting about him is that he sets these like personal goals for himself. Like I know leaving League of Legends, going into a different game, he's like, I'll only play this game if I am able to get to a certain spot on the ladder, right? And then he grinded and he got to it. He is someone who's incredibly dedicated. He's just a very excellent teammate by all accounts from anyone who's ever played with him. And then if you want to know his play style, every game he plays, he talks about how he always just wants to be like the shield tank character to protect his teammates.
Bring him back.
And I feel like that's very consistent. He's definitely more of a tank player.
More of a tank player. Well, the durability patch here might be good for him. Also, just real quick, want to throw a thank you to Dallas Fuel from the Overwatch community for providing some of that footage for us from his Overwatch days. Also, who could forget most fondly Jeff Gamsu?
He's a man of many talents.
He can play multiple games professionally, and he can cook like that.
Apparently, he still cooks for his teammates.
I believe it.
Okay, so I will say, playing multiple games professionally shows at least some versatility in his skill set. To your point about playing tanks and shielding and all this stuff, like, he knows what his role is on a team. He's not always like, I need the shine. Like, obviously, you can integrate with multiple teams across multiple games. I think that works extremely well with the current Dignitas having River in their bot lane pop off last split and actually be able to carry them. The top side had been an issue. Fake God was getting killed a lot of times, and hopefully Gamsu can come in, know that his role is not to be the star, but fill it.
Yeah, and I think he will fill in, the hole in that wall there for the team. I think he's a sturdy character that is going to fill the same kind of identity that Fake God did, if not just better. And I think another kind of hit on Gamsu as a player is like, sure, we talked about the fact that he moved from a different game, coming back in, what his goals were, the fact that for him to move to that game, he set up a goal for himself. And it is a difficult thing to do, to come back to League of Legends when completely different era, multiple different patches, like holistic identity shift, coming in from the amateur scene, was playing in scouting grounds and like grinding his way back up when he was on 100 Thieves X, 200 Thieves Academy, and now back in the LCS. It's something to, it's a huge accomplishment.
Giving me some Ole vibes, right?
Yeah,
Same thing he said, right? He had made a promise to himself. I got to get to the top of the ladder, prove that I still got it in order to head back towards the LCS. Now, grappling for redemption today against Gamsu is the reigning Academy MVP in Dhokla. Again, no stranger to the LCS. Let's take a look.
Yeah, I mean, obviously feels good getting the MVP award. But this offseason, I definitely worked a lot and reflected a lot on what like this year would look like for me. And you know, I definitely put a lot of work in, watched a lot of odds, and it definitely paid off.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw, you know, obviously people know you a lot from like your Optic days several years ago, and to kind of quote you, you did not used to be all that good, right? But the amount of work you put in over the past couple of seasons, over the past year, in order to just get to where you are, has been really impressive.
Yeah, for me personally, like the way I see myself is like those first years, I was still like relatively new, but like this split, I guess, is what I would base myself off of now, like as my skill level. Like I guess those years were like me like developing, I guess. But right now I think I'm definitely playing the best I had, and it's been consistent, which is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, the one question I would really have for you then is, were you expecting this? Like, you know, obviously you had if it's the most valuable player award, I think it is undeniably you. But
okay, well I didn't obviously have like this much success in mind, like just I'm gonna stomp every lane all the time. But you know, the biggest thing for me was confidence going to this year. I was definitely more confident than I have been previously, and yeah, I guess it's just showing my play too.
I think the big thing about Dhokla as well is, again, how self-reflective he was. I know a lot of people are going to meme on the most valuable Academy prospect because he has been in LCS. People think they have a very clear-cut understanding of who he is as a player, but I do think he genuinely has developed a lot. Listening to him speak about his own mistakes that he's made in Academy, he's very intelligent in highlighting like when, you know, a specific gank timer he's thinking about is, or like exactly what he messed up in lane, which is very impressive. So I'd urge people to not think about when the last time they saw him in the LCS, and instead know that he's improved and is a lot more well-rounded as a player.
And to be fair, there's a lot of churn of viewership over the years, of course. Like, a lot of people probably weren't watching when he was first in the LCS. Those Optic days, almost half a decade ago, where he's playing Yorick, and we're all like, big dokes with the Yorick, you know, like it's a different player that he has developed into an Academy. And so I think a lot of us are excited to see how he's grown beyond like, oh, you have some interesting picks.
Yeah.
And now has the skill to back some of them up, hopefully.
It's good to see the big dokes back in the LCS alongside the big environment. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Plenty of bigs out here. Except for we're missing Big.
The original.
After all that, we're
Big.
missing the original Big, but we got a couple other Bigs. I am very, very curious to see how this CLG roster comes together. This is a team that, again, no secret, has struggled ever since the glory days of the 2015, Summer Championship into 2016 MSI run. Dhokla, though, I think as a player, at least from a mentality perspective, I think more than anything speaks to me. This idea of like willingness to put in the time to improve, measured kind of assessment of his own ability, and I'm hoping that he can kind of extend that to the rest of the team, and we're finally going to start to see some growth out of this organization that's had to take a step back.
Exactly, and that's what fans from CLG want to see. That's why they've been growing in terms of that fandom, is that new culture fit, right?
Yeah.
For CLG. It's the look towards the future, and also if you're a hard worker, if you're busting, I'm just gonna power through, busting your ass basically right now, like, because he's the person that there it is.
Yeah.
But no, but the main point is like in Proving Grounds he's been killing it, Champions Q he's been killing it, and they're rewarding hard work and determination, and we're finally seeing that. So now it might be a new win point on the map for CLG. They don't need to necessarily go towards the bot lane, because Dhokla might be able to do that for you too.
Yeah, I also just realized this is totally not going to make sense to anybody but up here on the screen. One of CLG's biggest fans, one of our writers, writer on Players, Paramount Plus, go check it out. Elias Big Nonsense is his in-game name, and now Big Dokes is on his team in CLG.
Yeah.
Big Nonsense.
Oh,
You didn't know that from back in
Mushanka
the
or
day?
something.
Oh, Mushanka was way back in the day.
Oh,
And he went Big Nonsense as well. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Elias, I hope your team plays well today. Before we see the clash of these returning giants, we have some Dhokla lore we need to uncover. Let's take a look.
Big Dokes come from, I think it was a cast from Kobe, and then I think we were playing against Golden Guardians. It was like near the end of the split in summer, and then I think I just had a good team fight, and then Kobe started yelling like Big Dokes, and then it just stuck from there.
Kobe is responsible for so many nicknames and clippable moments, just trends in the LCS.
Yeah, let's get the call. Let's dig deeper into this. But welcome back to the LCS for Dhokla. I was still a part of the Team Liquid organization when we brought him in from the amateur system into Team Liquid Academy. And that's actually how far he's come, right? So he has been, there's a couple stories like this as they actually pan the camera to Contractz where like he was an LCS starter. Then he fell all the way down to Academy, but continued to work hard and improve himself, and now finding his way back into the LCS. So definitely a player who's got no quit in him. Similar stories, even if, you know, Dhokla moved down the ladder in League of Legends, Gamsu moved over to a different ladder, and then climbed the League of Legends ladder over from 100 Thieves, and climbed up their academy system as well before making the LCS. So just really cool that I think both these guys are re-debuting into the LCS against each other in this matchup.
A lot of promotions from Academy in the last 2 games of the day in general, because Gamsu was just playing with Kenvi on 100 Thieves during this previous split, and now they have found their way onto 2 different LCS teams. And even Gamsu saying in their content piece that he's very familiar with playing against Dhokla because of their time down in Academy as well.
And even though this is the first game of the split for these teams, I think it's very important because I did some digging into last split standings. Dig went 8-10 and made playoffs. CLG went 6-12 and missed. But Dig won both of their games in CLG. So if CLG could have just beaten Dig twice, they were a playoff team. So if they can actually flip the script a little bit on Dig and take this first game, it's like these are the deciders for them, because I think teams in this position will lose most of their games to TL, EG, 100 Thieves, but battling in the 6, 7, 8 spot ends up being the difference in playoff seeding. So let's see if CLG can pull off what would be considered an upset, even though they had identical records against the other 8 LCS teams last split.
Not to mention the importance of starting strong in a super week. It's something that we heard Biofrost talk about during the spring split, that it can really affect the mental of the team if you have a bit of a slitheringly slow start to it all. But as far as the draft coming through, Senna, extreme prioritization that we have seen throughout days. Viego, no one can shake him away. He's here to stay. But the Zhao on the opposite side is the response for the potential jungle matchup.
Yeah, the real shocker there is the Seraphine lock. This seems to me like it is should be a direct response to Senna. So really just matching Senna with what will, I mean, I'm actually not sure about this. It's either Seraphine AD carry or Seraphine support, but it's something that they like. And if they do okay, so it's Seraphine Karma, which would tell me that it is Seraphine bot, like Seraphine bot carry with Karma, which will have enough wave clear to keep Senna, Tahm, Kench in their turret almost permanently. I really want to see how this plays out, because in theory, I really like it.
Seraphine was one of those picks too that when talking to different teams and players, whether it be doing content between splits or even from the collegiate side and running into coaches in the hallway, and you would hear her name pop up as, oh no, we've been running Seraphine, we'll see how it goes. And when she first came through, that was the thing, seeing that flex in that bot lane. You can run her kind of supportively, but also in that carry position. And now bringing it out for CLG, and they love to carry from that bot side. But Dhokla also loves being played towards as well, so that's just kind of the question going with this team. Where does CLG decide to put most of their attention and resources?
With this team composition, it actually kind of has to have a top laner who does a lot of damage. So I would expect them to play fairly heavily through top lane. I think for the most part, like the Seraphine Karma's job is just going to be pushing and then showing up to objectives where other people need to do most of the damage. And they have 2 enchanters. So, I mean, they're going to save Dhokla's pick to 5. And I think he would love to play. I mean, Lucian is banned. He has a guy who's played Vayne top, Graves top, Like he's gonna try, I think he's gonna try to play something with a lot of carry potential, but it's gotta be a good matchup, so that's why they're waiting until last pick.
Especially in early spring in Academy with CLG, Dhokla was definitely playing a lot of those range, a lot of those marksmen that could carry from that top side, which was pretty on trend with some of the top laners within that league in its entirety. Very different look from what you expect from someone like Gamsu when Dignitas historically wants to play towards the strength of that bot lane.
They absolutely do. It's going to be very hard for them to play through Neo and Biofrost this game, in my opinion. Not going to be able to play through mid with Corki either, so this could be a game that at least early will be decided in the top lane. So they blinded Sejuani. Does this open up a Vayne angle for Dhokla? Vayne would be very difficult to play against Senna Corki, but possibly very good against Sejuani. So I want to see what lane dominant pick he goes for, or if he just decides to pick a team fighter.
A lot of teams indexing that late game. Sejuani making some appearances over on the top side thus far across multiple regions, but it's Yone. Last pick for CLG.
Okay, so we actually saw like a rogue Yone ban in the TSM 100 Thieves game. So it's definitely something that is seeing a little bit of play in North American scrims. So that is going to be possibly a very strong Yone, because Viego Yone just become different animals when you have Seraphine and Karma to enchant them in team fights. The actual engage will be fairly tricky actually for both teams. So likely we're seeing a fairly objective focused game, even if this draft has a lot of new faces.
So with the similarities in that objective focus from these squads, which draft are you favoring more, Jatt?
I think I'm on the side of CLG because I like the Seraphine answer into Senna. This is definitely something FLICKR and Croissant look to have planned. Senna's a frequently banned champion this patch, leaving it through for the first pick and instantly locking Seraphine. Seems like it's something they really wanted to do, so I'm going to say they practiced a lot and they should be confident and effective with it.
We'll have to find out going into our last match of the day, the debut day here in Summer Split 2022 for the LCS. Fresh slate for these teams, and I'm stoked to see who's going to come out on better footing. All right, heading on into it, and I know that we talked a lot about the top lane matchup because of the new faces that have come through. But I do want to see where that action happens on the map, because there's multiple ways that the junglers can decide to pull. But let's go. Crowd getting hyped, coming on into it. I see a lot of the new CLG jerseys filtering in here.
Absolutely. The true fans sticking around for game 5 of the day. CLG versus Dignitas here. You get to see Seraphine. You get to see the Academy MVP of Spring go up against former LCS player Gamsu. Throwing some trash talk back and forth with each other as well. And I'm hoping we see a banger here.
That would be a wonderful way to finish off the first day.
About that, though, when I'm just looking at the team comps, it's very hard for either team to actually fight. Not to be a Debbie Downer, but Seraphine Karma will be very good at moving into space, but it's also very easy for the other team to move out of that space. So
We might
like, if a team like really snowballs, they could get like a quick dragon stack and end up winning the game. But if I had to guess, this will be one of the lower kill games of the day.
A lot of river running, a lot of seeing.
There we go. There's
Hey!
the new CLG jerseys.
Let's get it, let's get it. Fans from the crowd, they need to buckle in for what could be a slow early game from both of these teams. No major plays to be had across all of the wards, pretty standard. They did get a deeper ward into the blue side jungle in favor of CLG just to get some of that intel on where River is starting.
Absolutely. I feel like just because this is in my mind, I want to tell a Seraphine story. From my time on Team Liquid, this was in 2021 spring, and our coach, Albert, Hacks Defender, was pretty much on the Seraphine train from the start of spring, being like, this champion is extremely strong. We should be prioritizing it and playing it all the time. And we try it in scrims here and there, but it never quite stuck. And what got it to stick is, and this is going to be for like the longtime League fans, because at this point it's like a year and a half ago, we watched a Reckless clip on Seraphine when G2 was playing it, and it was Seraphine Sion. And we saw Sion heal for 2,000 in the late game. And what it turned out to be is we didn't actually know how Seraphine's W works. So I think this is actually going to surprise some people as well. So, because when I play Seraphine on ARAM or in SR, people don't realize this. When you read the Seraphine W, it says, Seraphine spurs her nearby allied champions. I need to reselect because it just disappeared. Granting herself move speed, but also when she's shielded, it will calls out to allies, restoring 5.1% missing health to them per nearby ally champion after a 2.5-second delay, as we have to watch this River fight.
Oh yeah, and River in the River. Poome flashes away. Luger on the opposite side, targeted by Neo, but goes in for the kill. The Abyssal Dive, Biofrost in range of Luger. Blue's making his way to the party with the Valkyrie. And Palafox all on the outskirts, throws in his soldiers. First blood drawn by Blue here, or Blue going down rather. Luger very, very low in his own HP. Palafox with a double kill for CLG to start, and wants to continue through. River, you're in trouble though. Triple kill.
Let's go. Okay, I'm not finishing the Seraphine story until the game gets boring again, because it seems to be magic. If I start telling a long, convoluted story, we're gonna get action.
So you need to keep starting new stories, Jatt.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait to finish the Seraphine story. It was almost done, but like that was crazy. I mean, I need to see it again because I was actually in the middle of a story, so I don't exactly know what happened. But Luger and Poome look to have moved to River. So yeah, they're already here. They have such bot prio. They're starting the crab early for Contractz. So usually you think this is just something you don't contest, but Neo moves over late because River has hid behind them. But like, that's just a 3v3 against double Enchanter Viego, and they don't even necessarily have mid prio. So to me, this is just a huge overcommit by Dig. River flies through, can't even get the convert kill onto Seraphine, and it is an absolute disaster because the last thing you want to have happen against a double Enchanter bot lane is give kills to the carries. And Palafox starting with that 3-0 Azir is massive for CLG's overall plan.
Now, Palafox is being able to wrap around there to help in this fight. And yes, the Enchanters a lot of times early, pretty squishy, pretty targetable. And now with some gold into their pocket in this bot lane, 3 assists for Luger here, 2 for Poome. And Dignitas are going to have to make sure that they're somewhat reserved in their movement from here on out.
Yeah, and you can already see with Lost Chapter being completed early, and a 1100 gold lead for that Azir, they're able to move into the jungle, taking counter-jungling Gromp and really extending this one.
Which will make it difficult for River to try and even things out. Very aware that Contractz is making that aggressive push over into his jungle. But here's some of just the poking back and forth on the dragon itself. So River, because of all that skirmish prior, this is a lot earlier than we saw during the last game or any of the games today, I feel like.
Well, interestingly enough, like that push to invade to steal Gromp is not worth a Mountain Drake. My working theory on how teams want to win now, and other teams will have different theories for this, is bot prio into Drake stacking, especially when you have team comps like this who don't have a high amount of engage. You need to be able to move towards that Mountain Soul, but there's a chance CLG is just so comfortable with their scaling that they'll just take or try and take the rest of the Drakes. But I think if they use that mid prio to move towards Dragon, they take it. If I had to guess, they just didn't expect River to go for it, and they got caught off guard here. So overall, I think a really nice play by River.
But now still able to grasp that intel, that gold lead hitting 2K for CLG because of the previous skirmishes, whereas Dignitas have that chance to focus on the objective control, returning their laners back to lane. River goes back to farming. And once to even things out, because he's just a few CS behind Contractz, a lot of that gold just comes from the earlier skirmishes.
Okay, I'm going to finish my Seraphine.
Yeah.
I think there's a window. I think. That's Dhokla.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Okay, so I'll be faster this time because I was overly verbose before. Essentially, that 5% heal will become a 10% heal if there's 2 people there, a 15% heal if there's 3 people, 20% and 25%. And as you scale with AP, like you can get it up to like a 40 or 50% heal, of missing health, which is why it healed Sion for like 2,000 health. So what you'll see later in the game is Seraphine heavily incentivizes you all to just stand together with the empowered W. And even though I think carry Seraphine will probably end up going Liandry's instead of a Moonstone, when you were doing like Moonstone Seraphine mid back in 2021, you would literally just groove. And the W would pop everyone to half health, and then the Moonstone would top you off. So it was just this absurd thing. But like, we actually didn't realize until we saw that clip that it multiplied the heal for the people that was near it. And I still don't see enough people grouping for Seraphine W because they don't realize not only will it heal you, it's going to actually like double the healing for everyone if you're there.
I feel like my ARAM squad always makes sure to pick her up because of that
really
fact.
close.
Yeah, because you just have the single lane, everyone's standing together anyway, always get the heals off. A bit more difficult to execute on Summoner's Rift, and especially if you're worried about getting targeted by some sort of engage. But to your point earlier, Jatt, both of these teams somewhat lacking in that regard.
Yeah. And last thing for now. Seraphine W is so broken when you're grouped up and so crap when you're alone. That's the actual sum. It's like 1/5 of the ability when you're alone. So if you're alone, empower your Q, empower your E. If you're group, I would say like, if it's up, always find a way to empower that W. Do not use it unless you've stacked up your empowered spell on Seraphine. That's it for now.
Standing alone, it's a drought. With everybody else, it's a waterfall. You got it for ya.
There we go.
That's what CLG, I'm sure, will keep in mind when they do get to the point where it's time for them to group up in this fight.
I'm going to be calling it out. We're not going to have kills to talk about, so I'm going to be talking about Seraphine's abilities.
Who cares about all the other ones, though? It's all about the surround sound, just the W, even as the carry. Sure. But that is one thing about when you bring her into that carry position, because you have that additional utility on top of the lockdown, but really the Encore is just what you're looking at for CLG when wanting to exert some kind of control over Dignitas. As far as what we're seeing right now, though, it's pretty much just some chillaxing. Still got 1:20 until the next dragon. Everybody to their standard lanes over in that top side. Sejuani for Gamsu just hanging out. You've got Dhokla pushing in, so really been left to their lonesome. No use for the teleports across yet.
Contractz getting a little dicey, though, into River.
Yeah, right.
I don't think he wins this, though.
Blue's on the rotation, too, and so is Palafox. The sling through from Neo for the ultimate, wanting to finish off. Lands the W onto Poome, who has to flash over the wall. The first interactions that we've got for some time, but really just pushing CLG out of their jungle.
Yeah, I really hate that play by Contractz. He doesn't win the 1v1 against Xin, and then Senna also just makes it even more dangerous. So costs himself his ultimate. It kind of cost Poome his flash and a little bit of lane prio as well, because Poome was moving over to help and got tagged by a Senna W. So this actually has a chance of setting Dig up for maybe a dragon contest. I need to check on the package timing to see if it's something they can go for. And yeah, they have the package too, so if they can control second dragon, it would buy them a lot of time.
And that Rift Herald, though, that was previously grabbed here by CLG side. They can drop over here mid, maybe try to create some pressure on their own to prevent Dignitas from moving towards that dragon. It gets the slam for a few of these plates. They make their rotation first over through the river. A few controls in favor of CLG, but they can't lock into it just yet. Right now, Neo's gonna get the back so he can come back with as much power as possible. Already working into the Grievous Wounds as well to answer the Senna and the squad that CLG has brought on through. Yeah, so very important to get heal cut against these teams, especially if they group up for Seraphine W. You want to be able to cut that down. Grievous Wounds also reduced in the durability update, but I don't think Dig is panicking yet, because let's cast our minds back into which game was it? It might have been the first game of the day.
Yeah, C9 versus EG. Do you remember, I have this on my Twitter, that Corki rocket that did 1,100 damage to Jensen?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what Dig is waiting for. They're waiting for that Corki rocket to completely, to take 50% health off of the squishies, because that Seraphine W has a longer cooldown than the Corki are, and it's going to be on CLG to accelerate the game past that. So weirdly enough, that first Mountain Drake actually buys Dignitas 5 minutes, because they can just continue to farm on blue. Azir, despite the 3-0 start, has not actually been able to slow down blue's farming, and because they're behind, they can't really do much else but farm.
In that tone with that first game of the day between Evil Geniuses and C9, and just what we've seen across multiple regions is sometimes you just have that where it comes down to a pick here, a pick there, maybe an advantage towards one of the objectives, and then that big team fight later nullifies it all. While that was a strong advantage right at the stop, as we get some answers here. Gamsu backing off though, because Contractz is in the area, sends himself into the alcove. Taking the long way around to get the thumb up, but has some kind of a distance maker, but only for so long. River has his rotation, but can't get here in time. They are fairly low. Ushers a flash away from Contractz. No flash on either of the top laners, but the present guard here coming in from River should be able to finish it off onto Big Dokes, turned down small. Contractz goes back for it, has Palafox here. They continue through, even using the ultimate just to make sure it goes through. Palafox with the kill credits.
I want to see how this plays out. So even though they get 2 for 1, Palafox moved a long way up. Oh, okay, plates are down, but Corki's getting free time on that mid lane turret. I think it's a positive play for CLG.
Yeah, pushing up onto it. Palafox still going to spend some more time over on that top side. Can't make it back to mid for the defense, so he can get the first turret down of the game in favor of CLG. All the while, Blue able to get some damage down, but you do have that teleport available from Dhokla, so he can respond.
Overall, it looked like there's a bit of a mix-up at the very start of this as Dhokla used his R backwards, but maybe that was because Gamsu might have had fatal damage on him, would have to watch it again. And here, like, it's a Frozen Heart Sejuani against 2 mainly physical damage dealers, but they get the kill and then really just waste as much of River's time as possible. Dhokla just gets his shield back at the end there, which means River has to stick around. Otherwise, he might have had time to clean up 2 before Palafox arrives. But of course, once Palafox is there, Contractz can re-engage, get the 4th kill for Palafox, and then when Palafox takes the first turret, really extends his lead on the map.
Sandwiched in, and now with the action going down top, Rift Herald is up, and right for the taking. CLG are first to it, but Dignitas does want to contest, start to throw down some of their controls. Gamsu's in the area, the entirety of the bot lane's coming up as well.
Uh-oh. That was their engage spell. That is all of their engage. They have to leave now. CLG can just move into the space. And they have the Seraphine R up in about 10 seconds. Dig, like, once they lose that, they have no ability to start a fight, so CLG can just take it.
But good on them to read that, make sure that they don't continue to follow up. They lose the engage opportunity and then back off of this Rift Herald. So that's the second one that is acquired from CLG. See if they're able to finish off some more of the turrets because of that. Dhokla back over towards this top side to continue pushing that way forward.
Yeah, just keep farming. At this point,
oh, so you get the flash out of Neo. River here with some slams to respond. Lands a 1, becomes lightning onto 1, doesn't want to go for it. Contractz using the gates. Herald path laid on down. But Dignitas, they read this, they know they don't have eyes on the enemy jungler, so just back off.
And Dragon coming up in 30 seconds. Hextech Soul, in my opinion, the most powerful soul in League of Legends. It's definitely good for a team like CLG. Or if Dig was ahead, like it's a Drake that is going to be playing into both team comps, because it's just like, I think in this game, first to Dragon Soul wins. Herald kind of unnecessary, but we had to get it out anyway.
They drop it down, they manage to finish off the turret on their own, and in the end, that is still mid-pressure before this Dragon comes up and does draw some of the attention of Dignitas to finish off that Rift Herald before they can make their rotation through, which means that CLG can take the second Drake for themselves. getting the dragon advantage overall. Not quite on soul point yet, though, because of that early one that was snuck away from Dignitas.
I have another story.
Story time.
Yeah, it's somewhat of a teaching moment for people playing Senna. But the difference in your ability to generate souls on Senna matters so much on your ability to get mid prio. So you kind of benchmark the number of souls that you have throughout the game. Like right now, 57 souls at 18 minutes, not great. I've seen as high as like 80 or 90 by 20, but I'll explain. So what you really want to do on Senna is find windows to follow your jungler in. So if you can push mid lane, say up to here, that allows you to duck into the jungle. And if you have a lot of time, these are okay because there's like 3 camps there that could spawn a soul. You really want to be able to be there when raptors are spawning because any of those raptors has a chance of dropping the soul. And like the god camp for Senna is actually the Krugs because think about it. The giant Krug could drop a soul. The 2 medium Krugs also drop soul. All those baby Krugs, they can also drop a soul. So sometimes you can get like 6 or 7 souls from Kruggies. If you're able to have the window to follow your jungler, it's a pressure, like you lose a lot of time, which is why it's so important to push the mid lane before you do that. But if you are, you know, an organized team with Senna and you can find windows to follow your jungler around, holy moly does it make a difference.
So when I first started with the LCS broadcast was when Senna dropped, and I just remember coming in so many days and you limit testing her. Yeah. So I just forever associate you with every fun fact that Senna has ever brought into public mind.
Yeah, I had a few Senna theories that didn't quite pan out, but
some that did.
They were a lot of fun. They were a lot of fun. I did a lot of like Sona Senna. With double support items as well. This was before they changed the support items, so it was actually a lot more effective before you just like were unable to earn gold once you'd farmed too much. But you could just get totally destroyed in lane, and since it was solo queue and everyone wants to be a carry, you just support the carries. It's actually, weirdly enough, like the output of a Senna Sona would be similar to the output of like a Seraphine Karma. It's just this like incredibly powerful enchanter mob that can make the rest of the team strong. It's really bad when the other team can split you up, but really good when you have to group, which the more I talk about, means CLG should just win this game. Because like, Yone would be the split push threat, but like Dignitas is the team that wants to group and team fight, but they're grouping against double enchanter. So if the double enchanter is actually strong, and the Corki missiles don't actually chunk them so much, it just like really limits the ways in which Dig can win the game. Not to say that it can't happen, because like League of Legends is so unique. I've never seen these 5 champions against these 5 champions, but that's my theory.
Now we get some action. Knock up onto Contractz, backs away. River had to use the pressing guard here. And the team's on the retreat, but Palafox had the angle and goes for it. Contractz with the kill credit onto Neo. The lockdown and the root to follow up from Biofrost, who had to eat River as well to throw him into safety. So CLG, they take down the ADC and they move over here towards the Baron.
Huge. They only get 1 kill, but they've taken so much health off of Dignitas. And when they start this Baron, they don't really lose that much health. Because of all the output that Seraphine has. It does mean it's technically stealable, but goodbye, River.
Yeah, they're already burning it down here. Dignitas, they won to contest, but CLG, they're back on it. Blue's rockets are pretty good, though. Goes in with the special delivery. But oh my goodness, Gamsu, you're just going to be retreating from a Baron-empowered squad. CLG, they win the fight. They take the Baron. They move the pressure elsewhere.
That couldn't have gone much better for CLG. Getting a couple picks right at the 20-minute mark, immediately being able to turn to Baron, and just being grouped, right? And forcing Dignitas into a spot where they have to run into Seraphine, Karma, and now a 6-kill Azir, who is very accelerated in this one.
That's a big, big chicken that Dignitas wants to fry.
He can full buy a death cap if he wants to. He's got 3,600 gold. Okay, watching this one more time, they've already killed Senna So it is a bit of a fool's errand by Dig to try and contest this, but like they tried because Blue was going to be teleporting in with package. They can't really engage in a sync fashion, but like you see, even with burning everything, very difficult to cut through the shields and heals of Seraphine Karma. And there's that full buy death cap. Palafox pretty strong.
There it is. Did you like Luger standing in the middle of them, in the middle of the group?
Yep.
Getting the W?
It was good. I
Still
approve.
good?
I approve.
Good W smash.
W healing, good.
Like it.
3 Drakes,
Taken to a
good.
good stage. Yeah.
Even if
Good
they don't
stuff.
do anything with this Baron, they just, in 5 minutes, 27:30, go to the next Drake, group up, and there's nothing Dignitas can do.
3 turrets in favor of CLG. They've gotten all of the outers. They've got the Baron buff, starting to push this pressure towards mid. Dhokla on the bot side does have teleport available. But Dignitas, it's so difficult for them to get these defenses going when you have the range and you have that poke of CLG that don't even need to necessarily get a full fight. They just want to push them off.
Yep. And Dig just can't fight. Like, they can land a Sejuani ultimate, but it's so telegraphed and it gives so much time for CLG to just spam their shields with their double enchanter comp. Yeah, there's a little bit of heal cut. There's no shield cut on Dignitas' items, so CLG's really happy. And I mean, it's a big win for them, as we talked about before. In Spring Split, Dignitas beat CLG twice. It was actually the difference between who finishes 6th versus who finished 8th was the 2 wins that Dignitas had against CLG. So putting Dhokla in, but also I think just this team comp has been so good for CLG as they look to get their first win of the split.
They seem to be feeling fairly confident in it with all eyes on this bot turret. The ultimate from Neo slashing across gets a root onto
Jatt.
2, but there's so much distance between Dignitas and CLG. What are you really going to do about it once it's already finished? And CLG, they're feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, and you can see the Empowered spell is up for Seraphine right there. If he wants to, he can just press the Empowered W if Dignitas ever tries to do something. There it is, and they get the turret and move away.
Sing away, hit him with your notes and go to the wayside. I mean, Dignitas, not much that they could do of that onslaught. And CLG, though, yeah, Gamsu's going for it, wants to position himself in front as the tanky guy, as the one with all of the protective and durability. Contractz marked fairly low. Palafox goes with the Emperor's Divide to send River away. So even though there is a decent amount of poke and Dhokla coming on through with a swing and the slingshot, Dignitas can't finish anybody off.
Yeah, a little weird there, actually. CLG did not all stand together, which makes their comp a little bit less effective.
Back at CLG.
Yeah, but it won't matter at the end of the day. They're 9,000 gold up, 3 dragons, inhibitor down, likely going to wait for the Hextech Soul, and then probably a Baron, and then likely trying to walk it down. The fear would be, though, that the Corki gets a little too strong, since even though their champions are very far ahead, they don't have a huge amount of magic resist, and Corki can get ridiculous at like 15,000 gold. But luckily for CLG, they're 9,000 gold ahead. And Corki has 10k gold, Palafox has 13,500, and Neo is all of them.
As soon as he walks up to the wall, you know he's going to flash on over Contractz for a moment, thinking he wants to follow up, but you do have Blue there ready to collapse if he overextended. Still, that's a summoner brought out from your Senna and Neo, and this portion of the game comes down to, even if CLG aren't winning these big aces, they just want to keep pushing them through. Dhokla's going for it again, gets knocked up onto a couple. Pretty chunked down. Will they group up? Will they group up for the heals?
Here we go. No.
Yeah.
No, almost. I mean, they can just Karma Shield him, and then he doesn't need to have some power W for the heal, but...
Gamsu coming through from the river. Poome's going to get the lockdown with the tether, and he and Palafox have him isolated. Neo wants to go for some additional assistance to try and get some healing off of his own Q, but it's enough to buy time for Gamsu to retreat to the rest of the team. But all CLG's doing, they're just waiting for these waves over on that top side. You can see the pings coming and saying, okay, we push him back a little bit. We got another wave coming. We're just going to continue to exert that pressure.
And even that Dhokla engage in the bottom lane, like, I think I was just kind of him being bored. They really don't need to do anything until the next Hextech Drake spawns, but they do eventually get that turret, which is a huge amount of gold. Dhokla just poking, staying at full health, and in 40 seconds, we're going to see if Dignitas has any way of moving in to contest this Drake.
The clock winding down for that Drake. 10.4k FPX gold advantage for CLG. Teleport from Palafox so he can be here for the objective. And all of Dignitas' movement is to the alternative side. They're pinging over on this Baron side and seeing if they can draw some attention or set up for a fight.
Dhokla
Goes on forward, gets some slashes onto Biofrost, a tongue lash response, but again, Dignitas can't really afford to position themselves too aggressively against them.
Yeah, absolutely. The Corki will try and AoE them if they stand too close together, but the Seraphine Karma also does great AoE shield, so I think it counters it. They're just going to start this dragon, and River's going to have to brute force his way in.
And even CLG, they don't want to overforce here because they already had Contractz and Dhokla on to the Drake. Soul now acquired for CLG. That's going to give them even more power within these team fights that they have been waiting to do. So Blue has to retreat, all the rest of Dignitas. So they can't get into the Dragon side to contest, and now they can't get control over onto the Baron side with that Hextech Soul.
Yep, I think they can do exactly what they just did at the Hextech Soul at the Baron. They just stand in a space, and if Dig tries to move in, they poke him and slowly move away. The only worry would be Baron gets them too low, and we're going to see it right here.
See if they go for it. Dhokla into the backline, slings on back. River is the target of so much of the damage, and as the jungler being one of the most important around this Baron, can't get into it. So Dignitas, they all retreat, send their laners away, and CLG stick to the Baron for a second take.
That's the sustain as well. They took a mini fight where both teams have low engage. They pushed them off and they got Baron. And I think it's safe to say that CLG's probably going to win this game.
Mayhaps.
They're in control. They got Hextech, so they got Baron. And I'm still deciding if this is like mega draft gap, or is it just two very, very similarly themed team compositions where one of them got ahead. Because there was a triple kill for Palafox at 4 minutes, which really changes the dynamic of who is ahead when they come to objective fights, because neither of these teams can fight very well, right? CLG wants to group because of their enchanters, but Dig does have a lot of AoE with the Corki. I'm still leaning towards like, holy crap, draft gap, but there was that 3-0 to keep in mind for Palafox early in the game.
Now, what happens if you have another way to get into the fight, especially if your enemy team is lacking? And that's something that you can look for in terms of an opening. But all the while, that's why all of these, I want to say fights, but they're kind of fights, are going this way.
Yeah, they can't really be fights.
They're not really, what would you call that? It's not even really a skirmish, it's just a little...
yeah.
We need a new name. Is that what this meta is bringing us? A new name for the type of engages? River and the team make their last stand, though. Dhokla again sends his way back, a route onto Gamsu, and after the tether from the Karma, he does go down. Biofrost also marked. Oh, you get the charm from the Seraphine ultimate. Biofrost getting the Devour here onto Neo, who tries to go back into Fountain, but he can't make it. Even with the zip of the Fountain laser, it's not enough. CLG finally getting a team fight in the end with the ace to have the first #1 spot in their first game here in Summer.
And that is the best Bud Light ace CLG has had in over a year. So congratulations to CLG for picking this one up. I think from start to finish, 3 kills on Palafox, a really clever Seraphine counter into the Senna, made it look very hopeless for Dignitas for those whole 30 minutes, and they get that win, something that eluded them in spring, beating Dignitas, they do in the opening game of Summer.
CLG, this roster coming into the year, you are looking at them to level up a lot of talent that this crew is investing in to improve and synergize over time. They make one change, but there was a lot of inspiration towards the end of spring where you see, okay, I see what this squad can do, and now a strong start for them in the regular season in a very curious game.
Yeah, and I mean, it is a slightly different direction for CLG, because if we think about the way that they played in the spring split, so much of it was around Luger and Poome being lane bullies and trying to carry through him. But they bring in Dhokla, who played mostly carry champions in Academy, and it allows them to do double enchanter bot while still having strong 5v5 and the trust that he's going to be able to utilize those enchanters and play a little bit unhinged, which is like, you saw what he was doing in the mid game. He was just flying everywhere because who cares if I take 60% of my health and damage? We got a Moonstone Seraphine with 221 CS that's going to heal him up. So a new dynamic for CLG and a very successful debut.
The question you ask going into this is, okay, as CLG, you're bringing in Dhokla, and you were playing a lot through bot prior. Will you play through top? Where is it going to go? But the other side of that is, did they just diversify their style? Is it not a worry of, maybe both sides of this team aren't used to playing that way, but instead, we can play to these different ways?
Yeah, and in these types of conversations, which, like, someone has to pivot, and even though Dhokla is the one that 317 CS, was able to get counterpick, was able to punish, I actually give more credit to the player who steps outside of the comfort zone. So I'll give the credit here to the draft and also to Luger and Poome's ability to play double enchanter and have an effective game because it's so pivotal in their victory.
CLG coming through strong in their first game of summer. We are joining Pastrytime and Big Dokes for our Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you very much. I am indeed here with Big Dokes, now of CLG, formerly CLG Academy. Been a little while. You did have a game in spring, I believe, but it's been a few years since we've seen you on this stage. How does it feel to be back?
I mean, it feels really good to be back, and I think I'm a lot different than the player I was when I was back in LCS a couple years ago, so really excited to show what I can do.
Yeah, I have many memories of York as one of your champions.
Yeah.
Obviously, you play a lot of different stuff, Yone being the champion of choice for this game. We saw a couple bans on that champion already this weekend. Is this just one of those super busted champs, or is this a champion you're personally really attached to?
Well, I think the champ's strong, and I'm also really good at it, so it's good. But I think the enemy's draft was like really bad. Like they self-banned Gnar, so they didn't want to win, so it's all good.
Is this the pick you're taking for the matchup, by the way, or is this more of a like generically good top laner?
I mean, you can pick anything into Gamsu and do fine, so... But it is a good matchup, and you can skill freely, so it's really good.
So with that in mind, of course, pretty clean, straightforward game for CLG. Looking to kind of the rest of the weekend, how are you feeling about your next two matchups here in the first super week of this LCS?
I mean, TSM's looking pretty shaky. I mean, Hooney's only going to play like Rumble probably, so... I mean, I don't think all the teams are pretty good. I think we're pretty underrated, and I think we'll be top 5 and probably top 3 by the end of the split.
CLG Faithful definitely like to hear that. You said, though, that you're a different player since the last time we saw you. If you could kind of nail it down to one change, what do you think the biggest thing has been?
Confidence is, I think, the biggest thing, probably. I think when I was back in LCS, I didn't really have too much confidence. Like, I would be confident, but it's not like showing in my gameplay that I would like to have. So now I think, I mean, just play to win instead of play to not lose.
Yeah, I think that's a great mindset. Congratulations on the win today. It's great to talk to you. I'm sure there are many more carry champs on the horizon for us.
Definitely.
Excited for those. With that, we are going to close out the day over at the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Captain Flowers.
Pew, 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 pew,
Thank you, Big
pew.
Big Dokes.
That was
He's
great.
firing shots left and right.
Oh my God! They self-ban on Gnar, so they didn't want to win.
Yeah,
This
that
guy's
was amazing.
insane. I
Almost
love him.
steal a line from you while that interview was happening. You said making a pretty strong early case for best interview of the split.
I also just tweeted it.
There we go. There we have it.
tweeted it. So go give Mark the credit where he deserves it on
Indeed,
social.
Moxie.
Absolutely stellar performance out of CLG there, and we are going to get into that, but we're actually going to take the opportunity here at the end of the day to kind of work our way back through the first day of play. So we're going to start with the first game of the day. It was defending champions EG against Cloud9. Here we wanted to take a look at draft. It was our first look at the patch with our teams out there on the Rift. What are the thoughts? What are the takeaways here?
Fiora is broken.
That was pretty funny.
Like Fudge is also an incredibly good player, but Fiora is really broken. I was happy to see it in our first game because I've heavily criticized NA tops previously for not necessarily locking in like counter picks, especially split pushing counter picks like Fiora. She's also insane in team fights. I mean, she's just really, really strong. I was happy to see that from C9. I actually thought this was going to get to a point in game where C9 was just going to be able to slowly run EG over. So props to them for sticking in it.
Yeah, the opposite side of it, this is the first time we saw, throughout today, the Ezreal Karma into the Tahm Kench Senna answer that we saw here from Evil Geniuses. And it was just a full-on focus for team fighting for them, for their side. That they can kite, poke, make it difficult for Cloud9 to play their overall split push win con of just sending a Senna ulti to a scrapping Fiora who has side lane advantage. They didn't allow them, and it forced them into a large team fight, which is going to be the big question. If you're going to be picking Fiora, Kayle to a certain degree, still a great team fighter, so maybe not. But like just like a Camille to a degree, like just basically full on. If you want to commit to split pushing, you still have to adhere to the rules of the past few metas and patches where Dragon Soul
But
is
everybody's
still the
more
end all
durable,
be all.
Rez. I feel like
A little bit
Yeah,
durable.
all the
you're
rules are out
durable
the
when you're
window
coming
now.
in, you
True.
know, on
Okay,
the
chuck
flank.
it out
Gotta
the
find
window.
that sweet
We
spot of
saw
durability.
Fudge's durability.
He was quite durable in one moment in that game. I think actually what it speaks to, of course, is for how good of a performance he had on a very powerful pick, it was not enough to overcome EG. And of course, we should couch all of that with the fact that this was not the intended starting roster for Cloud9.
Absolutely.
They were working with the sub in on the bot lane by both Destiny and
King.
Thank you very much, King. The Aussie boys. And unfortunately, they came up just short. For the EG squad, starting out with a win is going to be big, considering what we heard from the org themselves about how they've only had 3 days of scrims coming back from MSI. So that hangover we're talking about to take down what is predicted to be one of your toughest opponents over the course of the whole split, day one, that's pretty big, Mark.
That's pretty big.
Thank you for confirming that.
I want to talk about Fly Phillip. All right.
Mark wants to talk about Fly's
They did a great job breaking down that game. I want to talk about this play right here.
Do it, man.
For a young player coming in, swapping in for Kumo, people did not have high expectations for him. And this was the critical fight right before the Soul Point went over. And to find that flash engage, you know, kind of call your own shot and then get that assassination kill with the rest of your team, I was actually very impressed. His lane phase clearly still had things to work on, fell very far behind the Gnar, but then, most importantly in teamfight, showed up.
He delivered the win. The Grubhub dub, one might say. Now, Grubhub, they can't guarantee that your favorite team will get off to a hot start in summer, but they can make sure that you'll get your favorite meals on time at the lowest price. Now, order using the code STREAM, and not only will you get $3 off your order of $15 or more, every order through now to June 19th will enter you for a chance to win amazing prizes. With one grand prize winner being able to play a game of League of Legends with Double Sneaky and Meteos.
Cool.
Ooh. Have any of you done that? I've not done that.
No.
No.
I might have.
Oh, aren't you cool, Mark?
No.
No, you haven't.
No, I mean,
So
no,
you
I'm
can
not
be-
cool. I mean, I might have played with.
So you can be cooler than Mark
There it is.
by ordering on
my
Grubhub for a
God.
chance to win a game with Double Sneaky and Meteos. I wanted to give
No,
you
I
a
want to
moment
add
to
one
jump
thing
in.
about Phillip, just because I feel like that entire play illustrates what we talked about him going in, right? And what his coaches said about him is like, laning phase, probably going to be kind of shaky. Joining up for team fights is a lot better, and he works really well with the team.
Yeah, and kind of an expectation that I had personally, because like in his Game 2 in 100 Thieves Academy and C9 Academy, he had like great game-winning like plays to win them a fight. And we see another one here.
Sometimes you need a clutch artist.
Boom.
Boom, they may have found it. They may have found the person who's willing to pull the trigger. From there, we hop on over to Team Liquid's perfect game. Day one, we talked about high expectations, Mark, and how winning is necessary for them, and that's what a way to win.
That's what I want. I want them to come out and dominate, crap all over the league, play angry, because it's not good enough to get first in the regular season for this team. Like, we want to see them win championships. We want to see noise throughout the entire split, and I like them crushing people's souls. I don't want them to just win. I want this every time they take the risk.
Yo, Whipple on that
Look at
Olaf.
that
First of all,
Olaf.
damage, nasty. Second, Lucian, Nami is probably not something you want to hand to Core JJ and Hamsam in the bot lane. I mean, just to run people over.
Yeah, the first few ganks, the double bubble from Core JJ, like perfection in the bot side of the map. Hamsama's team fighting. You were commenting on it, Dash, but the E damage from Whippo in the last team fight is just destroying
Gross.
people.
Again, talk about durability. Durability doesn't matter if I'm doing true damage. I'm chunking you for
Durability.
like 500 at a
Also
time.
matters less against some drafts. That draft by Immortals was
Yeah.
heavily flamed
Yeah.
by the internet and everyone else. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Impressive showing from Team Liquid. It's exactly what we want to see, as Mark said, here on day number one of the summer split. From there, we're going to jump to the final game of the day. I told you, I promised you, we'd come back to this Dignitas versus CLG matchup. And while we did tease it, of course, with the top laners, Gamsu and Dhokla both returning to the LCS, the game itself wasn't necessarily about them. We saw 3 early kills going over to an Azir in the mid lane, Mark.
That was definitely, the focus of the game was Palafox ending up like, I don't know what it was, like 10-0 or something.
Very fed.
But I think for CLG, what Dhokla said in the interview about them being underrated is definitely true. They were near the bottom of most people's power rankings that I was seeing, and to come out and just crush Dignitas, I think says a lot.
And I agree with something that Jatt said on Cast, right? Where it's like the really interesting thing about this draft is the Seraphine Karma in the bot lane. Because when we were thinking about Luger and Poome coming in, we were like, oh man, they're going to play Cog Lulu. If there's a, player who might bring out like Twitch, like hyper carries buffed by enchanters. But in this game, they played Seraphine Karma, and it worked out really well, partially because the Azir got ahead, but also you saw Dhokla in those later team fights with Yone. He just pops back, gets healed up, and can keep going. So it was really impressive from them.
100%, and I think it says a lot to the trust that they feel like they can win through like any lane, right? And I know that it's easy to have that trust at the beginning of a split when you're 0-0, but remember, they just came from the previous split where it felt like they needed to play through bot lane. So this is a really good start for this team. Already wondering what Big Dok's got cooking in the top side of the map in draft, right? And also, same thing for bot lane. This team already showcases that they're probably the most interesting team right now in terms of their drafts.
Well, we had 5 teams coming away with victories today. We also had 5 individuals who played the biggest role in those victories. Of course, it's our players of the game. We're going to go through them. It's Jojo for game number 1, Takui there in game number 2, Abadaga. A bunch of mid lane. As we're going through this, I'm like,
we have a massive mid lane
Did we realize what happened? I don't think we knew this was happening in the moment. Hansama, the only non-mid laner to sneak in here before Palafox takes that game number 5.
Mid lane pool's just too strong in that name.
What it says to me is that it's Corki Azir Victor meta, and games go long enough where those 2 or 3 champions become relevant.
Might take a little
whoever is on the winning
To
side.
be fair, we gave out a number of rivals today, which is the best player in a losing
on a losing team.
If it's a close game, that's when we kind of vote for it. That went to a top laner in Fudge, and Spica got one as well. So we were voting for other positions. It just happened that the winning
they were losing.
Had incredibly strong mid lane champions.
North American mid lanes.
OP. Look at us go. Let's get our standings up on the screen. I think there's going to be some surprises here.
You're either first or last.
There's going to be some really big surprises here. Things like that CLG. Understanding, again, matchups always matter. But when you just kind of take into account where all these teams were in spring, it's interesting to see, hey, Evil Geniuses, 100 Thieves, Team Liquid. All right, expected wins. They get them. Cloud9, a little bit of struggle city there. FlyQuest is going to feel good about their first win. That brings us to tomorrow's schedule, though. We got Cloud9 versus Golden Guardians to kick things off before Team Liquid Honda goes up against Dignitas, EG, 100 Thieves. Smack dab in the middle of the day. That's another, wow, what a weekend for EG. Going through the ringer here on the outside of their summer split.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm looking at that EG 100T game. I'm also looking at TSM CLG, actually, because CLG are a team, even last split when we praised them in their wins, they looked really good when they were working together, and they were really inconsistent. And then TSM, I actually thought got off to a really good start in their game.
Yeah, I was surprised how good they looked. Unfortunate they're playing 100 Thieves and they start making some mistakes around the Ari Abadaga found pickoffs, but that's your finalist team from spring that you lost to after getting a huge gold lead. That's actually a good sign for TSM.
Yeah, that's why they got to be patient, calm. I don't want to see any of the nonsense that we saw last split where week 2 suddenly changes, right? I like what I'm seeing, and I giving confidence to what we've seen so far.
I've always known Raz as the no-nonsense member of the broadcast team,
that's
so
my
it makes
name.
sense to me that that's what he's calling for tomorrow.
The no-nonsense.
Looking forward to tomorrow. Looking forward to tomorrow. Opportunity for Golden Guardians to steal a game from Cloud9 while they still have those.
That's a good point.
Roster.
They, maybe arguably, from my perspective, were the least impressive team on opening day, Golden Guardians. Just didn't show a ton.
Immortals.
I mean, Immortals got perfect games.
They did get perfect game, but then you start to ask questions about the level of competition on the other side. Team Liquid versus playing exactly things like that, and so.
Okay.
All right, I'll spot you though that it's obvious it's a battle between
We'll
those two.
revisit this tomorrow.
I'm sure it'll be a piece of what we talk about on tomorrow's show. Speaking of which, that's the end of this show and opening day of the 2022 Summer Split. So we'll catch you all back here tomorrow. On behalf of myself, the casters, the entire broadcast crew, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you tomorrow for more LCS. I'm going to move to this camera because she's about to throw a pen at it. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, be good to each other, and good night.
Because I already lost bingo, so.
potion, kills him off, and then going in on Destiny, EG thought they could kill him way faster, and then they realized, oh crap, Tahm Kench is not dying, kill off the tower, but the tower had already done a lot to actually make that a very even fight. Then Fudge TP's in, flashes straight onto Jojopion with...
Talked about how good of a game Jensen was having, how critical this Victor has been. Didn't look good at all.
No.
I never saw them look like they had a plan. They gave up so much, so often. Just really want to get a nice, strong start here to summer. And I think for both of them, this is a winnable game.
Absolutely it is. I mean, it's going to be interesting. You know, again, both teams have made some change. Thieves find the pick, just like they did at that Dragon fight earlier. 100 Thieves capitalizing way better, you know, in these skirmishes.
Wanting to maintain that power. 13-5 last spring, definitely going to try.
Very impressive. I did a great job. Mario.
Spring beating Dignitas, they do in the opening game of summer.